And a warmest welcome to you, one and all. So glad to have you here. Welcome to the Christian Whistleblower program, Christian Whistleblower channel. We're very, very glad to have you here. We're here for just a few basic purposes. One is to help you guide your own spirit, master your own ascension, and be your own guru. In short, we're here to help you, should you decide to, unindoctrinate yourself. That's the fire that fuels and the drive that fuels everything that's done here. By we, I mean pretty much me right now, but that's okay. Me and 36,000 and growing of my closest friends. If you're subscribed to this channel, please make sure you still are. People are getting dropped without their knowing. And if you're not subscribed to this channel, please do so. Two reasons. Number one, you hate me. You want to keep an eye on me because I'm getting more and more dangerous. Number two, you like me, and the information that we're putting out is getting more and more valuable. So subscribe, hit the bell, and all will be well. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to welcome our brand new co-host, the Professor Robert Bauer, into the Last Stand. The new Last Stand that kicks off tonight at 9 p.m. Central. We're going to have kind of a freewheeling, open-wheeling show tonight. Get you used to Robert. Talk about some of the things that are going on. But more importantly, talk about why these things are going on and what these things going on mean to us in the proverbial rubber meets the road real world. So we're going to talk about that tonight. And we'll even take some calls from you tonight if you want to call in and ask questions. And it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be a very powerful show that kicks off at 9 p.m. Central Time. So being just after 6 now, I don't have a lot of time to spend here. So what do you say we get right to the subject? The subject is, can men conquer gods? Can men conquer gods? Robert Bauer tonight, 9 p.m. The Last Stand, the new co-host. Can man conquer gods? Now, I talk about a lot of crazy things on this channel. I say a lot of things that most people consider very, very outlandish. I say a lot of things that most people consider not left field, not even in the stadium anymore. We talk about the God of the Bible being a rat bastard, lots of things just like that. But here I am today talking about taking Jesus into your heart as possession by a demonic entity. We talk about a lot of things, but this here today is a theme that I was hitting about 6-8 months ago, but evidently I wasn't ready back then. And now there's huge indications, and I'm not at liberty to speak about that, indicate that it is the right time and that things are coming into alignment. And we talked about this concept of the overthrowing of the failed God of this dimension, of this reality, of this world, of this matrix, whatever you wish to term it, whatever you wish to call it. Can man overthrow God? What an audacious thought. Some of you say, what a ridiculous thought. And some of you in the Christian church, and those that you are still Christian light, you probably are about ready to throw bricks at me and start going to, start putting in trolling comments and stuff like that. Aaron Corbett still trying to fit the rat bastard Yahweh. His name's not even really Yahweh. He usurped that name. That's my belief. That tetragrammaton, that YHWH, Yahweh, however it's pronounced, I don't think it's his name. In fact, I know it's not his name. It's a name that he has he's apprehended it, he's stolen it, and he's trying to he's living on borrowed glory, stolen glory. And I don't even know if he's still in the system. He might have fled the world, but there's at least a tulpa out there. That's the Lord, that's Jehovah, that's the rat bastard. So yeah, when I talk about the rat bastard, that's the God of the Bible. So the thesis that I'm putting forward is rather simple. The world's a wreck. By any standard, by any definition, the God of this world is an abject failure. Wars everywhere, death everywhere, famine everywhere, pestilence everywhere, disease everywhere, hatred everywhere, tribalism everywhere, unrest everywhere. This God of this world is a failure. If you read his own book from Genesis through to Revelation, he's also a killer, a bloodthirsty killer. He's actually more of a Charlie Manson because he doesn't do his own killing. He gets other people to kill for him. So he is a killer. By his own admission, he's jealous. How many of you want a jealous spouse? Oh, none of you? Well, then why do you settle for a jealous God? He's a God of vengeance, wrath, anger, self-admitted. How many of you want a spouse of jealousy, wrath, anger? Oh, none of you? Then why do you settle for such a God? And I'll probably ask the professor these questions tonight because I'm pretty sure he comes from a less indoctrinated background. So, Professor, don't give all your answers here. I believe he's in the chat room. So the premise is that he's failed, he's flawed, he's a phony, he's got to go. Part two in the premise is that we are divine, we are sovereign, we are free. We are created by the Elohim. And even though this isn't a Bible show tonight, let me call your attention to something just to show you what I'm talking about as far as we are divine, we're sovereign, we're free. This is Genesis chapter 1, and I think this was stolen. I think it's really about the Tuatha Dé, the Tuatha De Danann, and they stole it. But let's just stay on this track right now. In the gods, and I've shown you this before, but I'll do it again because we got to have a lot of new listeners. God, when we see God and God created the heavens and the earth, we think of a guy with white hair. I'm not against guys with white hair, big beard, sitting on a mountaintop somewhere, getting ready to throw lightning bolts if we mess up. But that's not what the word means. And remember, folks, here we talk about the text, and the text doesn't care what you've been taught, because the text means divine beings, gods, goddesses, plural, more than one. Plural, gods, goddesses, divine beings, plural, more than one. So there was more than one of them, gods and goddesses. They came down and they said, let us make man in our image. Now, we don't have to get really deep into this, but you're made, if you believe this, in the image of God, after our likeness. You're made, if you believe this, in the likeness of God. And then the gods created us in their own image, male and female. Why male and female? Because the gods and goddesses are male and female. Duh. So, ladies and gentlemen, if we are created in the image of God, if we're divine, if we're sovereign, if we're free, and oh yeah, the central figure of the Christian mythos said, you are gods. In no uncertain terms, you are gods. And so many times I hear so many people complaining, Jeff, it's so bad. Why doesn't God do something? Doesn't God love us? Why won't God do anything? He just don't do nothing. Why won't God do anything? Well, if you're gods, born in the image of God, baby gods, it reminds me a little bit of my children sometimes. Not anymore, but in the past. And I'm sure this is just my kids, not your kids. Dad, I need money. Why don't you do anything? Why don't you give me any? I need money. I need a car. Why won't you? And for a while you give. And then finally you say, look, you got to grow up. You got to start making your own money, paying your own bills, buying your own cars, paying your own rent, et cetera, et cetera. And somewhere my mom is saying, I wonder if he's listening to himself. Just kidding. But you expect your children to grow up. Do you think our parents expect us to grow up? So here's my premise. We're baby gods. This God has failed. Why hasn't God done anything? Quit crying like a baby and asking your parents to do something for you when you're the gods. Maybe God hasn't done anything because we still got pacifiers in our mouths and dirty diapers on our butts. And we refuse to grow up and be the gods we are. Maybe. This is just a thought process, and I'm putting out there for you, ladies and gentlemen. But how about this idea as I go to my notes? How about this idea that, and I can't, for some reason, I can't read with those on. It's crazy. How about this whole idea of humans taking on gods? Is Jeffrey Daugherty crazy? The central figure of the Christian mythos said, you are gods. Genesis 1:26 said, you're built in their image after their likeness. You're them, grow up. You know, a lot of you, I've sold hundreds of t-shirts that say, I'm divine, I'm sovereign, I am free. Do you really think that, or is it just a slogan on a t-shirt? Do you really think that? Do you really believe that, or is it just a slogan on a t-shirt, ladies and gentlemen? If we're really divine, if we're really sovereign, if we're really free, then we should be able to depose this failed God, kick him out, do a Donald Trump. You're fired. We should be able to do that. But Jeff, that's crazy. There's no way that's possible. He's God, and we're humans. Let me share something with you. And again, this comes from the Bible. I'm not saying the Bible's all true, but I'm saying the Bible is written to hide the truth, and it is the enemy's game plan for how to defeat us. And they have to show us due to some crazy moral idea, or really it's just plausible deniability, because when they get before the court of universal justice, they can say, look, we told these people, and they chose not to listen. How can we be at fault? If I was the lawyer for the Christians and for Paul, I think I could hang that jury. I really do, because we've been told and we just won't step up. But this is a Tower of Babel. I don't know if Marston Brooks is here, but he always says, remember Babel. Because I've been up one side of Babel and down the other, and we're still here. Because there's so much more to learn here. You know the story. People, if you've read my books and listened to my videos, and if you haven't, search them on this channel about Tower of Babel. Babel wasn't about evil men rebelling against a righteous God. Babel wasn't about building a tower to try to physically get to heaven. Babel was men and women in righteous repentance, meaning changing their way. Look, we let this guy, this rat bastard, lie to us and put us in these mud hut bodies. Yeah, we blew it, but we're tired of it. We're going to say no. We're going to take back our sovereignty, take back our authority. We're going to commit ourselves to the ways of the Elohim, or the Tuatha De Danann. We're going to commit ourselves to our gods, gods of our choosing, not this God that tricked us into serving him. And we're going to go back. We're going to be a people. We're going to make a name for ourselves, and we're going to worship the gods of our choosing. That's what happened at the Tower of Babel. And then you see here the Lord, rat bastard, he came down to see what was going on, to see what these guys were cooking up. Because the Lord came down and he says, I can smell what these bitches got cooking. That was us. And I don't like it. So he smelled it, and he came down and he said, well, look at these sneaky bitches. They are trying to go back to gods of their choosing. They're trying to get out of my matrix. He's looking at what are these children of men cooking up. And remember, if you listen to my other videos, children of men talks about the people that are born and want to not worship the Lord, but worship gods of their own choosing. Look what they were doing. But here's the important thing. And the Lord, the enemy of our souls, the rat bastard himself says, admits, tells us something here that if you hear what I'm about to say here on June 24th, 2019, your life will never be the same again. Because the Lord, the enemy of your soul, the rat bastard said, look, when these people are one, remember is anything that you see italicized in the King James is added. So what it says is when the people are one. When the people are one. Look at this and what this word means. When the people have begun to do as one people. When the people are one, when the people are in unity, when the people come into a collective oneness, when they're not yelling at each other because one of them's black, one of them's white, one of them's yellow, one of them's kind of tan, one of them's darker brown, one of them's chocolate brown, one of them's dark chocolate brown. And one guy's got a beard. There's always some guy with a beard that's complaining he's in a shaven man's world. And there's some guy that's shaved that's complaining he's in a bearded man's world. I'm just a black man in a white man's world. I'm just a white man in a black woman's world. It's just all this bitching going on. But once people get one and they start speaking the same language, what does that mean? Speaking, ladies and gentlemen. If they're whole, if they're whole and they're all is what? The same. If they're whole and they're all is of one language, of one speech. They're saying the same things. This is a way of saying if their intention gets unified. If they're speaking the same things, if they're walking the same walk, if they're talking the same talk, if they're quacking the same quack, if they do that, if they get together, and I'm not talking about getting together, worshiping the same thing the same way. I'm talking about getting together saying, oh, I'm going to worship my God because my God appeals to me. You can worship your God because your God appeals to you. You don't worship no gods, that's okay. We're all people. We're all divine. We're all sovereign. We're all free. If I want to worship this God, good for me. If you want to worship that goddess, good for you. If you don't want anything to do with any of them, no problem. Because we're all divine. We're all sovereign. We're all free. And when we, says the rat bastard, when we get to that place, nothing they devise will be beyond them. Let me show you this. Nothing. It means not, nada, none, niet. For our Germans, or our Russians. Nothing they devise, nothing they consider, nothing they purpose. No purpose that they consider, nothing they decide to do will be beyond them. Nothing they do will be cut off. Nothing they do will be inaccessible. And look at this. They can't be enclosed. Holy shit, Batman. I shouldn't say that bad word because YouTube doesn't like bad words anymore. Nothing will be beyond them. Do you understand what you just heard? The rat bastard, and I always get all excited and leave things out, so let me make sure. Nothing, ladies and gentlemen, shall be impossible. Nothing shall be beyond our abilities. Nothing shall be beyond our grasp if we're together, divine, sovereign, free, unity amidst diversity. Then nothing we devise will be beyond us. So I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, if we all become divine, sovereign, and free, love our neighbors as we love ourselves, do what thou wilt. No, don't get all bent by that. All he was saying was, you do what you want to do, I'll do what I want to do. Let's stay out of each other's business. And if we were all in this staying out of each other's business, cousins, business would be booming. Can we try that business? How about the I'll stay out of your business, you stay out of my business? How about the business of staying out of other people's business? That's what do as thou wilt means. That business will be booming. So if we're baby gods, and like our kids, our parents expect us to grow up, and if the God of this age, planet, matrix, whatever you want to call it, is screwed up and messed up and needs to go. And if nothing we decide to do is impossible to us if we're together, I ask you again, can a human conquer a God? What's the answer? It's a little bit different to think about, isn't it? That's a little different to think about, isn't it? But you know what? When you're fighting a battle, which taking back this realm will be, it's good to have some allies. I mean, even the Beatles said you need a little help from your friends, right? So who else has been done wrong by the little g God in charge? Okay, men have been done wrong. Women have been done wrong, more wrong than men, but that's another story. But people have been done wrong. The planet's been done wrong. Ooh, so we should appeal to the earth spirits to help us. If we appeal to the earth spirits who's been done wrong by the God of this world, do you think there's a chance they might help us? Okay, so the earth has been done wrong by this God. What about all the other gods who have been, like women, pushed into the ash bin of history? What about the other gods whose names are never spoken anymore, whose domains have been stripped of power? Those gods that have been ignored, cast out, held down, drowned out. Do you think that maybe they might have a bone to pick with this little g God that's been doing that? Been doing to them exactly what he's been doing to us for 2,000 years. Do you think they might have a little angst against him? And do you think they might help us tell him bye-bye? Do you think it's possible? Do you think it's possible? Well, guess what? If you don't think if you don't think it's possible, or you do think it's possible, you're right for you. And if you don't think you can do this, guess what? You're right. But if you do think you can do this, guess what? You're right. Could we do it all by our damn selves? Probably. But the precedence of history says that these guys in Genesis 11 tried it. Men tried it. Came close. I don't want to get in trouble, but there was one group of people that broke off and made a deal with the God of this world and said, hey, how about we be your people? You be our God, and we'll help you bring these people down. And by the way, that's where the Bible came to be. More on that in another program. But they lost. We lost at the Tower of Babel. We lost. Yahweh came down, worked with that breakaway faction, confused us, separated us, and then scattered us. So here we are. I mean, depending upon your reckoning, over 2,000 years later. Can a man conquer a God? Yes, a man can conquer a God, especially if he gets a little help from his friends. And the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Who else is the enemies of the God of this world? The earth that's being destroyed and all of its spirits in divinity. The air that's being destroyed and all of its spirits and divinity, and all the other divine ones, like the Tuatha De Danann, that have been held down. Can a man conquer a God? Yes. Would a smart man try to build a coalition of beings that have also been wronged by this God? Yes. Would a man and I'm speaking of men collectively that did so, stand a much greater chance of success? Yes. Audacious? No doubt. Ridiculous? Maybe. How audacious was it? And I don't mean to draw this analogy, but we all relate to this, most of us. How audacious was it in the mid to late 1770s for these guys, 13 little colonies in a place way far away, thinking they could rebel against the greatest military and powerful nation in history? It was ridiculous. They did it. All I'm saying is we know that this God has failed and he's wrecking things. We know that we're gods. Why hasn't God done something? Because we haven't done something. Can we do something? I say yes, we can. Can we use some help? I say yes, we can. Should we do it? I don't know. If you think you can, you should. If you don't think you can, you shouldn't. And it's not like we're just going to do this tomorrow, but today's the day to say, hey, do I want to be part of this? Yes, I do. And then you say, who calls to me to work with? Start thinking about that. Get yourself ready, make some relationships, and then we get ourselves together, ready together, and then we do a little business, if you know what I mean. Rocky Stucci, just do a little business. And I think that this business could be booming. So, can a man conquer a god? I say yes. If you want to help, I say thank you. Let's rock and roll. If you don't want to help, I'll quote JFK, say, listen, either lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way. That's all I ask. Lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way. Maybe we can, or maybe we can't. But all I know for sure is if we don't try, nothing changes. Maybe it's time for us to grow up. I don't know. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? Let me just run a quick run through the chat room. You've listened to me for 27 minutes. And our enemy says, if they get together, there's nothing they can do. Nothing they can't do. Wolf Weaver says he conquered the demiurge. If he can, we can too. That's interesting. Manifest a new world. Wonder twin powers activate. That's funny. I not only think I can, I know I can. Why would you be predictable so you can be tracked? I'm not sure what that means. I think that's a response to somebody else. Welcome, Tiddly. I'm ready to lay it down. They fear mutiny. Would the helpers expect something from us in return? Well, that's an excellent question, Tracy. I mean, we live in a quid pro quo world, don't we? And let's say the helpers are other gods. Let's say the Tuatha De Danann, for example. How long has it been since the names that I quoted yesterday have even been spoken aloud by humans over? I mean, that show's already got 5,000-6,000 views across the world. How long has it been since Danu heard her name spoken from 6,000 sets of lips? That's something in return, Tracy Dyer. Just an example. Collective consciousness, says Robert, U.S. Invet, third gen, will change this third density. Yes. I'm a fighter, says Celestial Piper. How do you get sovereign? Yeah, well, would it be at a cost? Tracy Dyer asking the great questions. What's the cost of inaction? Sure, there's a cost. Nothing comes for free. It's hermetic principle. You can't receive if you don't give something of value. What are you giving? Well, you probably should be committed to giving even your life in this meat suit. Of course, that's a rather extreme statement, but I'm a rather extreme guy. Cliff Desmond says some of the goddesses are already helping. Yes, yes, they are. Yes, yes, they are. Whoop, 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 says somebody. Together Peoples. I got an interdimensional cruise, says somebody. Prime Source, Collective Creators. Yep. Non-violently, of course. You remember the central figure of the Christian mythos said, "The kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force." And here's personal. I'll tell you what I think, and I'll tell you what I know. If we get together, all of the humans that are willing to do this, all of the other entities, gods, goddesses that are willing to do this, we get together and we just present that force in the face of this failed, flawed, fallen God. I don't even think there'll be a battle. I think he'll just turn tail and run because he's a coward. That's just my 2 cents worth. My 2 cents worth. Speak it, brother. Thank you, Jennifer. If we're the gods, then we're the ones doing it, or the ones not doing it, as Joyce Marie says, and I agree. The fairies, the leprechauns, the fae. I've got friends on the other side. Great information, someone says. Do us thou wilt by Alistair. See, again, somebody's got to get... When somebody says something that makes sense, why do you got to... Well, yeah, but he was this and he was that. It makes sense. It's do your own business. I'll do my own business. Don't get hung up in who said it and why he said it, or really your perceptions of why he said it. Just take the truth and just go with it sometimes. Eat the meat, spit out the bones. Worship can and will remove sovereignty. No one's saying to worship. I think Jenny Moonstone said it best. I don't worship any gods or goddesses, but what did she say? I have a relationship with some of them. Elsie says, let's dance. Travis Thorpe, who knows something about this, says, whoever said that real gods don't want worship has never worked with gods. Now, if you refer to titanic forces, primal forces, sure, because they don't care about you. They're just there. And like I said, Travis knows more about this than I do, but saying the name of a god, giving, and worship doesn't mean giving away your sovereignty or freedom. I mean, like, I worship my dad. There's other people in my life that I worship, but I don't literally worship them, but I give them energy. I give them praise. I give them affection. I give them, energetic gifts of myself. Who doesn't want that? You're a god, right? You're a god. Do you want good, energetic emanation coming to you from other people? Yes or no? Do you want love? Everybody wants a little love. That's worship within our context. Would you be willing to give a little love to get a little help? No one cared about, oh, here we go, bringing politics in. You're singing my song, Jeff. Marsden Brooks is in the house. Remember Babel. Yes, Marsden, I am singing your tune. You know I am. Here we go again. Somebody trying to bring in what you eat. Get that corn out of my face. It's way beyond what you eat, what you drink, what you smoke, what you don't. We don't eat, drink, or chew, or hang out with those that do. That's why we're in the mess we're in. That's why we're in the mess we're in. But I don't want to get off on that track. I don't want to get off on that track. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Natalie's daughter just repeated rat bastard. Yes. I'm influencing even the children. I love it, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So can a man conquer a God? I say yes. He can. Yes, she can. And the smart man, the smart woman gets a little help from their friends. And the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Keep your friends close. Keep your enemies closer. Something to think about. And I hope you'll think about joining me in about 2 hours, 20 minutes for the new Last Stand with myself and Robert Bauer. We'll give you a little introduction of the professor, and then we'll get into some news, some reviews, some questions from the chat room. I'm going to bounce some questions off of Robert Bauer, kind of find out where he's coming from, because I don't really know for sure. So we'll get to know each other. You'll get to know us. We'll talk about some great facts and things happening in the news, but more importantly, what's happening behind those and how it affects our life. If you want to call in, we'll take some calls from y'all, and we will have a great time, an enlightening time. So be back at 9 p.m. Central for the new Last Stand. And until then, ladies and gentlemen, I do encourage you to guide your own spirit, master your own ascension, and be your own guru. I do encourage you to unindoctrinate yourself. And more than ever before, I'm convinced we're the last generation of real humans. And this might be the last generation that gets a chance to make things right. I'm not saying that for sure, but I'm saying it could be. One thing I know for sure is that winners write history, and sometimes they write it in advance. It's called prophecy. So can we speak those things that are not as though they are? Maybe. But one thing I know we can do is we can get together and get busy winning today, so that tomorrow, together, we can write a better future. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. Who's with me?